Barry Allen made some very dumb decisions here, and for someone who knows so much about the Speed Force, with as long as he's been the Flash, should not be making these stupid mistakes. Hey everyone, welcome back to Candid Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX Indie Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be reviewing the new DC film, The Flash, directed by Andy Muschietti. If you have followed me for a while, you know that I have been a DC girly. I have supported Zack Snyder's Justice League. I was a huge DCU fan, and I was very hyped for Justice League and what it meant to see my favorite heroes on the big screen, live action, especially with my boy Ben Affleck as Batman. He's like the ultimate for me. Henry Cavill as Superman. Absolutely love both of them in their casting. And I unapologetically love Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition, and I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. I love Man of Steel. It's an unofficial Zack Snyder trilogy for DC. I loved Birds of Prey. I loved the first Shazam. I was vibing with the DCU. I wasn't 100% on the Ezra Miller casting for Barry Allen. Zack chose them, and that's totally fine, but for me, something was missing. Maybe I was used to Grant Gustin's Barry Allen, even though I checked out of the show around season 5, and I think many people did, but kudos to Grant Gustin for carrying the CW on his back. Now this film, I'm going to preface this review because it's really tough for me because I love the DCU. I love it so much. This film felt very pointless because none of the OG Justice League was going to come back, nor will they ever form ever again. And the placement of this film made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And this will be filled with spoilers because there's no way I cannot get all of this off of my chest. This film was shown, I think, at CinemaCon. It was shown early on, and people had said at the test screenings that this was the best comic book movie of all time. What did people watch? What did people watch to make you, to make you understand that this is the definitive Barry Allen and this multiverse storyline is one of the best that we've ever seen? What made people think that the cameos in this film warranted the best CBM of all time? What was it? I need to know what it was, because right from the opening, I felt very weird watching this. I don't know if it was because of the situation with Ezra Miller that happened off screen that didn't scream like hero to me anymore, but it was very hard to watch this film because this Barry Allen, I don't know if this Barry Allen's moving forward. I don't know if the Justice League that this Barry Allen keeps referencing, including Batfleck, okay, including Wonder Woman, including Aquaman. What are we doing here? You're referencing the Justice League that no longer exists in this universe that you're trying to wipe out. Yet you thought it was a good idea to place this film here when we're about to reboot everything in the next couple of years. I understand. You know how many people worked on this thing? My heart goes out to the VFX artists because what was this? What was this? I don't want to hear anyone bashing Marvel at all, because at least the first 2 acts of their films are pretty solid with the VFX. It's always in the 3rd act that's a mess. Andy Muschietti just came out and said that the VFX was intentional in certain scenes to show the Speed Force, to show Barry's powers, to show what's inside of his head and inside the Speed Force. There's a way to do it without making it look like it was elastic on screen. Everything looked fake. Everything. His face was like stretching. I get that you have to show it because he's moving fast, but at the same time, it has to look polished. We have the technology now. And no offense to Grant Gustin on the CW, but it shouldn't be looking like that. Budgetary restrictions, I understand for a television series. I totally get it, but what? What did you spend the money on? it's intentional to make it look like that. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But also, as an audience member, if I'm watching this, no one's gonna think maybe it was intentional. I didn't think of that. The audience, the general audience, not being in the industry, is definitely not going to think of that when they're watching it. They're going to think it looks wonky. And it's unfortunate because there's so much you can do with Barry Allen. There's so much you can do with the story, okay, about his mother and what happened to her and him going back in time, okay, to save her. There's so much you can do there. So he goes back the day before his dad goes to trial to kind of clear his name, okay? Goes back in time, and we see that Nora gets stabbed. That is what happens to Barry Allen's mom. The whole reason why he goes back in time is to stop that from happening. We still have no idea who stabbed Nora. Now, wouldn't that have been a better angle to find out who stabbed Nora in order to clear the dad's name? But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Instead, he thinks that moving a can of tomato sauce is going to solve all of his problems. That's not Barry Allen. Barry Allen made some very dumb decisions here, and for someone who knows so much about the Speed Force, with as long as he's been the Flash, should not be making these stupid mistakes. That's number one. We go into the Speed Force. He travels back in time to another dimension because he changes it again to another Earth, basically, and he meets his 18-year-old self with his mom alive, his dad alive. Okay? This 18-year-old Barry, the most annoying version of Barry Allen I've ever seen, could not stand him. This movie did something that I could not stomach, and I didn't like what they did in Iron Man 2. I didn't like what they did in Spider-Man 2. For this particular reason, is that our hero, who has always been at full capacity with their powers, loses their powers. Loses it. The OG Barry Allen, who knows everything about the Speed Force and time travel because he just freaking did it, doesn't have his powers. But guess who does have his powers? The 18-year-old Barry Allen. So, I understand that you have to kind of show the origin of Barry Allen because we didn't really see how Barry Allen came to be the Flash. Okay, we didn't see that in Zack Snyder's Justice League. We didn't see it. I understand that, but that could be saved with flashbacks. I don't need to be like literally carried by the hand showing us what it means to be the Flash. He is one of the most powerful heroes, and he's so fun with his powers that we needed a step-by-step process with the 18-year-old Barry Allen. That annoyed me. When I watch a superhero film, my hero needs to be at full power at this point. Unless it's a hero that I have nothing. I know nothing about, like Blue Beetle coming out in August. I know nothing about him. I'm really excited for his origin story. That's fine. The Flash? There's really nothing much to the Flash, to be honest. He got hit by lightning with chemicals flying all over him. That's fine. He can move really fast. What are you showing me? There's no emotional connection to the mother because the focus is on going back and saving her without knowing who actually stabbed her. So there's nothing tying it there. There's no connection to the father whatsoever. Nothing. So the whole middle portion is OG Barry losing his powers and teaching 18-year-old Barry how to use the powers. Exhausting. None of the jokes landed. It wasn't funny. Comedy's personal. You may have laughed. I did not laugh once. I was glaring at it because it's like textbook. I changed the universe. I broke everything. I think we've seen enough to this point that has to deal with multiverse stuff. And no one has done it correctly. There are some issues with Spider-Verse, sure, but I loved, what they did with it. There are some issues with multiverse storylines that I can't get behind, but this was like exhausting, literally exhausting to sit through because they didn't fully explain the multiverse either in this. They tried to show us the Speed Force and then the chamber as well, him going back in time and that stuff, but like nothing. I felt nothing. It was Ezra talking to another Ezra the entire second half. Ezra had chemistry with Ezra, Sure. I just didn't care anymore. I didn't, because you're not giving me anything with the mom. I felt nothing, no tears, absolutely nothing. Then when they need to find the other Justice League members, we end up with Michael Keaton's Batman, who's a very old Bruce Wayne who hasn't fought as Batman in a very long time. That's fine. Keaton was Keaton. He wasn't in this movie. He was acting in something else that made absolutely no sense, so it wasn't like cohesive. The third act fumbled hard. It fumbled hard. No one had any chemistry. Nothing. It was like they were acting with a blank screen. And then the third act with General Zod, there was no build up to Zod. We know how threatening Zod is, but Man of Steel came out 10 years ago. Do you think people really remember who Zod was? No one remembers him. Then on top of that, we have Sasha Calle, and she looks great. She was great as Supergirl. They gave her nothing to do. A disservice to the character. And I won't get too much into that because this is like semi-spoilers. I'm not going to go into full spoilers, but what they did with Supergirl in this movie pissed me off. I was so angry, and I was angry what they did with Keaton. You had two different Batmans. Okay, Batfleck was in this. Thank you, Jesus, because I got to see him for one last time. Thank you. And then you had the whole thing with Supergirl, but nothing is focused on Barry. Instead of Barry focusing on saving his mom, okay, we have Barry focusing on saving the entire multiverse. The fight with Zod, empty. Y'all want to freaking talk about Zack Snyder packing in the screen? Nothing was on screen with the Zod fight. Nothing. It was like open sky, an open desert, and maybe 2 ships and 5 people fighting. What are we doing here? Zod has a whole freaking army. You put 5 people on the screen? I don't know what happened here. There are cameos that did not sit right with me, because the reason why people are calling this the greatest comic book movie of all time is because they have multiple cameos of people who have passed on or did not actually take on the role that they were supposed to take on. And it left such a bad taste in my mouth because you're doing it for fan service. But to me, it's just blatant disrespect at this point. It's just disrespectful. I had people clap at the end of this in my theater. I could not do it because there was nothing to clap about. This Flash movie was its own contained thing. It didn't change anything. I thought they were going to reset. I thought they were going to like axe everything that happened with Zack Snyder's Justice League. No, they're still using the characters. They're still using the actors. You gotta wipe it clean. You cannot keep Jason Momoa. You cannot keep Gal Gadot. You cannot keep them. You can't. You can't keep Ezra. It feels weird. It feels so weird because there's gonna be a new Superman, okay? I can't do it. I personally cannot do it. It feels very weird, and it impacted nothing in the universe, in DC, like at all. Nothing changed. It felt like Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, where the beginning and the end of the film, they're in the exact same spot. And at this point, I've realized that if nothing changes for the character within the multiverse storyline, and they don't learn about anything, I cannot do the multiverse storyline anymore. There's one cameo at the end of this where I was just like, you gotta be freaking kidding me, but people ate this up. So the general audience will probably love it because of all the cameos that are in here. That doesn't make up a movie anymore. My heart goes out to Sasha Calle. I think Andy Muschietti directed certain scenes extremely well. I think he has Batman down pat, and I think I would love to see him directing a Batman film because everything he did with Batfleck and everything he did with Michael Keaton's Batman I thought was really, really good. But I'm just really disappointed with this film. I'm disappointed with the current state of DC, and I just think that this film is weird. The score was really good, I can say that, but everything else was just a very jumbled mess for the Flash as a character. So I'm giving the Flash a 1.5 out of 5 just for the Batman stuff. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed the Flash. Let me know what your favorite DCEU film is. Let me know what you are looking forward to in the future. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can always follow me over at AMX Indie Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And if you guys want to help me grow this wonderful community, you can find out ways to do that in the bio below. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.